Hello, hello. Uh, Good morning, you guys. I've already good morninged you like three times, and each time I've done it, an airplane has taken off. And this next time, I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to let you listen what I hear at 9:30 in the mornings. All right. Ugh, I ain't shitting. In fact, that noise is just finally just leaving us. It's just crazy. Air pollution in paradise of all things. I think that them airplanes turn around and come around back. But anyways, hey, good morning, good morning. I was, it's almost like when I do these guys with names, what's in a name or something like that. I get nothing out of them. You guys only want to hear about the dirty stuff. But the promised land, and nobody speaks of it. No one says anything. All I hear, I get one person. Yeah, well, I feel like I am telling the truth, and there ain't nobody else like me on here. Shouldn't be anyone else like you out there. That's the trouble with people that try to be like other people. There's nothing distinguishing them, and they run from themselves. This is that idea that, to know this God is to know yourself. I know myself pretty good. I've spent a lot of time alone in the world, and not that I've been alone or unhappy, because I'm connected to a juggler vein here in Key West, Florida, for in a good part of my life, and as even a child. I was the a president of my class even for a couple of years. But I spend a good number of it all by myself. Or I used to hang out with the older people when I was a kid. I was always like older, than most other kids, and I didn't hang out with children that were my age. Believe it or not, it was just that way. It's just that way. I don't know. I just think that people that were my age did not have the same kind. I'd like to be an adult. I had this idea that everything should run for a certain way, and there was just it wasn't like I was missing my childhood. I was running around making little go karts, having a great time playing in the mud and the water, getting ringworm, making gutters in the street. I was a child for the longest of time, you know, and even believe it. I mean, it's kind of people don't talk about it, but I kept hold of my virginity until I was about, I think I was 18 or 19 or 20. It was what they call a late bloomer. I was just like, yeah, I was still a whore. Fuck, man. I was in the Navy. I couldn't help it. Had to keep up. Had to, show myself, in some way. But I could say that now because I'm pushing into the 60s. But I just absolutely had one interesting time in my life. And one of those, this letting your hair grow, I was the true Samson. And it's just funny that one of the things that I always wanted to do was to be able to tell the story of this Jesus the right way. That I knew there was another way of reading the Bible. I just knew it since I was the littlest kid, that there gotta be a better way to tell this story. This is just, because this sounds like anyone could be this guy, and I would get shivers over me and say, maybe you're Jesus. And it's freaky. Even just now when I said that, if I could show you, I got goose pimples all over my body because it's kind of not the easiest thing to take, especially like the Beatles. We're more famous than the Jesus, and then the backlash they get, comparing yourself to Jesus, shit. Well, damn, when you find out, when you learn how to read the Bible, sow your seed correctly, you find you are Jesus, and everyone is Jesus. They're all Satan too. God damn, they're everybody. The brethren, you are all of these people in this Bible. And I'm saying not one of those dudes existed, but these were giants that were made by mankind falling down. This is the fallen angel story, where we've taken this lower seat. We think we took this lower seat on purpose. No, we got this lower seat because they it's planned that way, you know. So it's just interesting all to say that I did get a chance to see and read this Bible correctly in my lifetime, you know, and uh, and after hours and years of practices may have very well broke through, but this is believing and not seeing because we don't see this happening in our mind. It's actually just unfathomable to know what it's like to be a spirit, because it's our feeling in our body and everything, and our minds and our eyes and ears that make up everything out here. And if you are making it up, then this whole world is a lie. Well, it's just not what it seems. But I don't know. My arguments are always against people saying there's no such thing as duality. And the entire Bible speaks of nothing but this duality. And here comes a goddamn airplane. So I'm going to try to make this quick. That last little story that we were talking about, the sons, and they're number 20, so that chapter 20. I'm going to X this down. So, Matthew 20, without knowing or knowing it, you could say that the 2 was going to be about the body, about, God's creation, which means there should be some kind of duality or 2 showing up in there. And the 2 brothers, the 2 sons of Jebedees, the wife, or the mother of Jebedee. Mother is a good name. I think I said wife before, but this is the mother of Jebedee's children, their sons. And so wanting to sit on the left and right hand side, you have to understand it of those 2 children. And just like in the other story, the same story, we have are not the same stories, but the guys that went up to go and see the promised land, that those 2 were the ones that were ready to go. Those the 2 of the 12, leaving 10 or something behind, where they brought the ones that were complaining against them, that brought the evil against this other side. It wasn't the 2, it was the rest of the men in this place. So in these situations like this, you had 2 guys that were by the wayside, and the group they got mad at them for yelling out that we want Jesus, we want Jesus. This was this idea. Let's go to this kingdom. Let's go and do this. Oh, we have the men on the town saying no. So these are the 2 sides, and it's duality. And it's just so beautiful in the way it works. And it described it at the beginning as, a parable. Heaven is like a man who has a home or his house, a household, and he invites people to work in his vineyard. All right, it has a vineyard and invites people to come and work in it, and they all come to work for a penny. They all are doing this work, which is the 6th, going up the shocker, the works. Faith without works, it's dead. That's why these people are standing idle. What are you standing idle there? Because you're dead. Consider this dead in these things. So, well, because no one will hire us. Go on, jump in there, and on this hour and on that hour and this hour. They're going through the stages of consciousness. The 6th are gathering people together into this group. And then on the 11th, 11, which would be 2, he's talking about this idea that the last people came in, and when the hour struck 12, this is on the lower side of things, the dark side. At 12 o'clock, this is where this happens. This is when in our world, the sun dies right there. This is midnight, and this is where the stories bring us all the time, to this 12th hour. Because this is where the death is, and then the pay starts, and they get their dollar, they get their 1, because this is you've literally died in a sense, and you get to be reborn. But they're not talking about the rest of the right here. They're just saying, go up there and pay them. Let's go pay them $1 or a penny. What they did was they went and got men, which represents two, and brought them by the wayside, caught these things, you know, standing idle. So what he was going to do is he was going to take the two and he was just going to give them one. So in return for one, so you bring your double mind in to have it exchanged in for one, and that's this idea of going into the vineyard, serving this vineyard, hiring people. Because what he means by hiring is the idea that when I can't even see myself, I'm just talking into the breeze. It freaks me out. Let's see if this is it. Here I am. When you're being hired out, because this when we go through this change, when you join up, it's not a takeover. This is a type of a ransom. Maybe if not ransom, it's a bounty of some kind where you're being paid back for coming back home. But this is not controlling you. It is aiding you and having this extra part of you alive and working is only to benefit you, and it gets to live through you, and you become its servant. But it's a nice agreement. It's a gentleman's agreement, so to speak, because this is God. It's not. He cleanses his mind now, you know. But you are still free. I can cuss and fart around, and I can, I whatever, still being myself. But I just happen to have this higher side that gets to interject its ideas on me as well. Whereas before it was kind of like you're just lucky, you which is not true either. You still have, because I think we were going through this world. We come about our pact with the Lord, and I've had a pact with Him, and I think that was to find out the truth and then set it free. No matter what happens to me in the long run. So I have had a hellacious, beautiful life. And so I'm earning these things. I never have, I have been in both worlds, the most beautiful, richest of beautiful things. And I have also been in the lowest of things and have experienced them both very well. I can smell what's down here on the lower side. I see it. I feel for it. I've been in it. I know it. I've learned compassion, and I've learned all those things that you have to learn. And I've been in positions where, you can actually take and make some kind of change, and still am. And so, I was listening to Pockets, the guy Pockets of the Future. He's always saying, from Pockets from the apocalypse. Yeah, so he's in the apocalypse. But every day they're all dying out there. Of course, all of us are dying every day that we live. But this idea of being dead, all this, oh, it's me, woe is me. Come find out that he's the real brother of Raymond, that guy from Raymond, the show. Oh me, the cute show, just cute. Everybody loves Raymond. I thought I heard his voice before. But everything is kind of, and he just brings up the anger in me sometimes because he thinks he's really spiritual because he has a guru that he goes and talks to and he speaks of stuff. He's mentioning this seventh chakra and he was talking about the like he knows, because, he's got a guru and everything, that the chakra system and all of these businesses are independent energies. Your kundalini is not the chakra. It is. It's all the same. It's the kundalini energy. And you can't cut yourself open and find seven little places to go to. No, you can't, There might be these ideas of little seven nerve endings, just like, or, a 12. There's seven nerve centers of the body that are running different parts. These are the different gates, so to speak, and the openings that you're going to go through. And they call them flowers a lot. They call this a plant and a tree. This is that where you go to is the tree, and you'll find that, in the heart of the tree, this is the meat that we're supposed to bring. And, and it winds up being the land of milk and honey. Of course, Samson grabs a hold of this, tears open the lion, the lion inside the lion. After defeating the lion, he finds some honey. And he and his mother and father did eat. All right, so once you learn to sow these seeds correctly, you you come to find out that so what? Now I do this. Now I'm in this enlightened phase. What happens next? I don't know. What's in store? I don't know. I like to think that perhaps we vibrate different. Oh, I know what I was talking about with that goddamn guy. Pockets doesn't know what he's doing. You don't have to be a spiritual person to understand stuff, how it works. There is a science to it. But when the eyeball pops open, when that third eye pops open, it's because you commanded it to come open. You did something. You asked for it. But it doesn't stay open. You have to wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, it's daytime, it's vibrating, it's a different thing. It does wake you up, but goddamn, airplane. So anyways, can you still hear me? Well, they're busy this morning. This Kundalini energy, she says, well, no one can get there. There's so much you have to do this, and and this, and well, we come to find out by reading this Bible and the code, and as we use the code to understand every verse of this Bible, that we now, whenever we see the number 20, we know that 2 is going to be about his creation. It's going to be about something to do with the mother and the father, of the right and left sides of our brains. This is the image of God. And so whenever we see the number 2, you're always going to get this kind of a story. This shows that the book is made up mechanically. That this is because there's no way. This is actually how you can tell when things are screwed around with. Like one of the first problems that of solving was the Bible's been manipulated and changed and done this too and that too. And there are certain places that you might think it's really been the deciphering what it means. Like. Man shall not lay with a woman as he does with a man what he does with another woman. All right, that's totally false. That's false teachings. All right, but they had the words that said, "Thou shalt not lay with mankind as with womankind." And thou isn't representing anything, but it's just the way it's interpreted. That's what's been changed. All right, what it means to be homo. All right. A biblical homo. And it turns around as being that everyone that is a religious person who is believing in the letter of the Bible is this religious or this biblical homo, which God hates so much. And why does God hate them so much? Is because they've decided to take the whore of Babylon's side and toss their silver into the street outside of them, causing them to die. And we are his children. So yes, that's an abomination. I'm a big old fag, all right? I suck cock and all that stuff. Does God hate me? No, he told me. He's told me in this Bible, he says that you were born out of your mama like that, naturally. Didn't have no terrible words for me at all. It's also in Matthew. We also are one of these, we became a scapegoat after the Bible came alive. Once they brought all this stuff together, it took about 400 or 500 years. I maybe 3. I wasn't there. But in the books, queers had existed for a long time. But since the Bible, queers just make up their mind to become queers after that. So we lose this idea that you're a natural thing and we become this sort of unnatural thing. And a lot of us queers had tried very hard to be natural. That's how we started this out. You know, what that whore that I was losing all it on. $50. It didn't work, and I asked for $25 back, and she didn't give it to me. I had to leave anyway. So what a disappointment. You know. So you're not going to get nothing from mankind. That's what the story of these books are saying, and it's just really just too mechanical to be. Oh, hey, I have this story to retrieve or to bring from my mind and onto paper is what happened 200 or 300 years ago, as this was passed down to me. You know, you know, it doesn't work that way. I got this new book, The American Indians, Myths and Legends. All right, these don't have a lot of things written down. All right, but in some ways, their stories were painted down, and like in the Hopi prophecy, rock was chiseled down. And of course, religion comes in and says, "Oh, this is the end of times," and this and that, and so it equates to all these end time stories, which is what this painting is behind me. And whenever I was painting this, I didn't know none of this business. But I took all the 20 different stories that I could find at the end of times and painted them in this, and it turns out being a Kundalini with the devil way down here and Jesus here and the purification of everything. It turned into this wonderful story that I tell you and that is revealed inside every story in our Bible. It's a different kind of airplane. Bear with me. Ain't that something? Sounded like it was coming right at me for a moment. This is at 10 o'clock in the morning here in beautiful Key West, Florida. Wow, that is absolutely crazy. Well, anyways, this story is getting long, but I wanted you to understand. We just found another girl, which is that the mother of 2 sons, right? That is representing your skin, and your soul. All right, doesn't mean that the soul is male. The soul doesn't care. It's whatever you are. It's whatever the Father wants it to be. All right, whatever God makes it, and that means you whatever you want it to be. You know, Times are getting short when people are calling themselves its and others. They're not taking on being boy or girl. I'm a they. Let me tell you, the world's slipping into stupidness. So, it's about time you learn how to sow this seed. Hear that airplane? Is it coming back around? It certainly ain't stopping. Get upstairs. Take over. Give it over. Hand over some of this to the Lord. But you're still in charge. You're the one. Remember how he taught? This is the story about God teaching. He says, Moses is telling Moses. Now, I've got some shit on Moses. All right. Moses, I can't speak. I'm feeble. I'm this and that. I've got, well, you get Aaron to help you. You know, Moses is known as the meekest man on earth, above all. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that he was above all men on earth. He was above all the most weakest, wimpiest person on earth. All right. That's what meek is. Someone who will bow down. Someone who will take the burdens off. Those that will finally give in. I give in. I've had enough. And I bow to this. That's what that means. All right. And then to be pulled out of the water, saved, you know, by himself, the meekest, inherit the earth. All right. Moses wasn't this great man. The horns that you see them planted on him doesn't make him the devil. But at the same time, remember, we are. This is a world of duality. And now we started off this program. Always dealing with this idea of knowing sex and stuff like that, and it's really just a joining, things coming together, and what happens when things join up, and the mayhem that happens when things fall apart, things come down, things are wrong. But you'll find that it's that teeter-totter. You won't be able to get anywhere with everyone being on one side. So there's got to be a few of us every now and then, like myself, that gets to chop through the darkness with my saber sword. That's the only other thing I can think of that we have, is that, we have some kind of line plugged in to our source. And so perhaps, whatever vibrational stupidity that falls upon man, or could possibly, that man makes to hurt man, some evil trying to continue this particular kind of control over you, is that you're probably shielded. That's probably this shield of some kind that keeps us from being affected by more things that are lower conscious, or lower conscious driven, because this higher conscious gives us a wall against this lower thing. But they're always out there, they're always out there trying to break it, plus, it's going to stub your toe, you're going to be pissed off. Some woman went down the street the other day, thought I was going to answer my phone on my bicycle on a one-way street. And yeah, I was, because it was important. And before I even reached in my pocket, I don't think she knew I was doing it, but she just beeped at me because I was in her way, me. But I'm it was a one-way street. Anyway, she went down the street, stuck her arm out, and shot a bird at me. And I said, motherfucker, so I'm on my electric bike. So I speed up to come get closer to her, and then she beeps at another guy to get out of her way so she can move on. So she's just a bitch all the way down the road. And I want to catch up with her and ask her if that really helped you. Did that really help you out? Because, it just seems like, damn, bitch, I stuck my finger up and shot a bird right back. Does this mean that I am not connected to the Lord? Does it? I'm not asking that question because I'm not caring for peanut things or any of them. Tell me what that means. I've listened to the Tao. And what you get out of the Tao is one who's got the yin and the yang going. You got them both, and they're both swinging just left and right, and having a great time. This is how we keep our balance. I gotta say shit every now and then, or it'll just pile up inside of me. Enough of this before another airplane comes around, ruins the day. All right, and just practice. Understand that there is a correct way of reading the Bible. It narrows everything down to just one way. There's only one way to do this, and it's echoed in all other religions that are this code-based, this Bible-based business. All except for Islam. But their only, beauty is that they nurtured the Old Testament. And that's the only thing. But little do they know that offers up salvation, but their own religion itself does not. It is a kill all for me. And, perhaps all these other gods are wanting you to kill all for me, but that's really granted towards the individual taking judgment on himself. Going through this procedure that they speak about, and killing yourself, not being killed. All right, that's the difference with for the outside mankind, the way that they have viewed God is God will kill you, but God doesn't kill you. But anyways, that's in your mind. And when people die and when people are hurt and people are killed out here, people going to war, their side, my side, their side, whatever. God's not in any of that. I love you. Here comes another airplane. Peace.